At the outset, let me humbly express my gratitude and appreciation for the honor and privilege that has been bestowed upon me, not only as your President and a Commander-in-Chief, but more importantly, after this morning as the Colonel of the 1st Battalion Fiji Infantry Regiment. I think I've got a lot of big shoes to fill, but I'd like to thank you for the faith and confidence that you have shown in entrusting the 1st Battalion under my charge. And I deem it a great honor and privilege indeed, and thank you. Thank you. And before I move any further, I'd like to thank the Commander and the members of RFMF for the traditional ceremony of installation or inauguration that has been performed. Nasavalya na songova turangova panua. I'm not too sure how much time I'm allowed, but please bear with me. May I take us on a brief history journey about the 1st Battalion of Fiji Infantry Regiment. And this is for the benefit of our young members of the regiment and the young members of RFMF. I'm not too sure how much you know about the history of our regiment. But let me start by taking us back to the early beginnings of our nation. From the armed native constabulary during the pre-colonial era, right throughout the colonial era, to the formation of the Fiji Infantry Regiment, the post-colonial era. As you've heard from the commander at the beginning, it was after the First World War, an armed force was formed for the defense and the security of our nation. Now, in those days, leading up to our participation in the Second World War, and for your information, you young members of the regiment, men and women, you may not know, but the Fiji Infantry Regiment has got a proud, a colorful, and enviable reputation. And because of the prowess of our forefathers who served in the fields in Europe during the First World War, coming up to the Second World War, the regiment was affiliated to the King's Royal Rifle Corps, or the British Army. The mobilization of the 1st and 3rd Battalions for the operations in the Solomons during the Second World War. Those of us who are familiar with the history of the deployment, we made a mark for ourselves. We were branded as good jungle fighters, and I think the result of that, like which we're all proud from then up until today, is the award of the highest decoration for valor, the award of the Victoria Cross to the late Corporal Sefanei Skunival. Men and women of the Officer Corps of RFMF, let's be mindful of our proud tradition. And I'll mention here some of our past traditional leaders, military commanders, starting from Ratu Sela Skuna, who served with distinction the French Foreign Legion and was one of our early commanders in the formation of the RFMF. Ratu Se George Lakombau, Tudravu Sambal, Ratu Se Edward Lakombau, Ratu Se Penayang Anulau, the last commanding officer of the 1st Battalion who brought the battalion back from Malaya in 1956. During the participation of the unit during the Malayan emergency. To the present day deployment, starting from way back in 1978, and I think the commander referred to only a few of us who are left here who went to the first deployment. Our commander of the colonel of the regiment. Epeli was our first commanding officer in 1978. And since then, the RFMF, the Infantry Regiment, has made a mark and a name for itself for being deployed in some of the most volatile and dangerous war zones in the world. From 1978 to 1980, you may not know, but we deployed a small contingent of our soldiers and Brigadier General Kurusinga, a member of the Fiji Observer Group Africa in 1980. Coming back to 1982, when we deployed the 2nd Battalion into the Sinai. And subsequent peacekeeping operation deployments, Afghanistan to Iraq and other parts of the world. Closer to home, we served in East Timor and we made a name for ourselves. And I'm glad to see that some of our serving officers today did serve in East Timor. I was fortunate to be able to visit our troops when I was a High Commissioner in Canberra. And again, you upheld the reputation and the legacy of the Fiji Infantry Regiment. Operation Lagoon, closer to home, Bougainville. And then Ramsey operations was wrapped up about a year ago. We made our mark. And then later on to Southern Sudan, the Golan Heights, Anso, where one FIR deployed again after we pulled out of Lebanon in 2002. Ladies and gentlemen, we have a legacy to uphold and keep. It is our job, it is incumbent upon us to protect a proud, enviable reputation of the Fiji Infantry Regiment.